The great hall of Nexus Prime stretched like a crystal cathedral beneath three purple suns. Admiral Vextar stood at the center podium, his blue skin gleaming under the artificial lights. Around him, representatives from 12 different alien species sat in floating chairs that hummed with anti-gravity technology. Their eyes were fixed on the massive holographic display showing a small blue planet called Earth. "Fellow council members," Vextar began, his voice carrying easily through the hall's perfect acoustics. "Today we review the military capabilities of our newest member species, the humans." A ripple of amused clicks and whistles passed through the assembly. The Zorathi delegate, a tall insect-like being with compound eyes, leaned forward in her chair. "Admiral, surely this is unnecessary. We have already seen their primitive vessels. Chemical rockets and metal hulls? They might as well be throwing stones." Vextar's forearms gestured to the hologram, which now showed technical diagrams of human ships. "Indeed, Hive Speaker Zixra, but the Council requires complete assessment of all member militaries, even the quaint ones." The display zoomed in on a human destroyer called the Indomitable. Its design was blocky and functional, lacking the elegant curves of Council ships. Most amusing of all, it had no visible energy shield generators. "Observe," Vextar continued, pointing at the ship's main weapon. "They call this a railgun. It uses magnetic fields to throw metal projectiles at high speed. No energy beams, no plasma bolts, no quantum disruptors, just kinetic force." The Hegemony Science Advisor, a crystalline being whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns, spoke up. "How fast are these projectiles, Admiral?" "Their fastest recorded shot was 15% of light speed," Vextar replied. "Impressive for such primitive technology, but hardly a threat to modern shielding." Laughter echoed through the hall. The Valdris representative, a being of pure energy contained in a mechanical suit, flickered with mirth. 15%? Our shields can deflect 90% light-speed plasma without strain. What about their defensive capabilities?" asked the Rhino delegate, a massive creature with thick gray skin and tiny black eyes. Vextar manipulated the hologram to show cross-sections of human ships. "They rely on armor plating, thick metal barriers and reactive materials. No energy shields whatsoever. Their scientists apparently never developed the technology." This brought fresh waves of amusement. The Corvani delegate, whose serpentine form coiled around her floating chair, hissed with laughter. "Metal armor against energy weapons? They might as well wear paper." In the observer section, Captain Sarah Chen sat quietly among other junior diplomatic staff. Her hands were folded in her lap, but her knuckles were white with tension. She wore the simple blue uniform of the Earth Defense Force, which looked plain next to the elaborate ceremonial clothing of the other observers. Chen had been assigned to Nexus Prime as a military liaison, supposedly to learn from advanced alien warfare techniques. In reality, she knew the Council viewed her as a curiosity. A primitive human playing at being a soldier. "Captain Chen," Vextar called out suddenly, "perhaps you would like to explain your species' military doctrine to the Council." All eyes turned to Chen as she stood. She was average height for a human, with short black hair and calm brown eyes. Next to the towering aliens around her, she looked small and unremarkable. "Admiral," Chen replied in a steady voice, "human military doctrine focuses on effectiveness over elegance. We build weapons that work, not weapons that look impressive." "How charmingly practical," Vextar said with obvious condescension. "But surely you must see the limitations of your approach. Energy shields have made kinetic weapons obsolete for over 2,000 years. Chen's jaw tightened slightly. "We have found kinetic weapons to be reliable in all situations we have encountered so far." "Of course," the Zorathi delegate interjected. "You have never faced truly advanced military technology. Your species has only been fighting itself." The Council members exchanged knowing looks. Earth's violent history was well documented. Humans had spent centuries perfecting ways to kill each other before reaching space. It was both fascinating and disturbing to the more civilized Council species. Vextar waved his hand, and the hologram changed to show star charts. "This brings us to the practical matter at hand. The Council conducts regular military exercises to ensure all member species maintain proper defense readiness." Red dots appeared on the star map, marking various locations throughout Council space. Each dot represented a training scenario designed to test different aspects of military capability. "Earth will participate in Exercise 17, Vextar announced. You will defend the Echo 7 mining facility against simulated pirate attacks. The scenario is designed for newer species. Chen recognized the dismissive tone. Exercise 17 was clearly meant to be simple. Probably embarrassingly so. But she nodded respectfully. We will do our best, Admiral. I am sure you will. Vextar replied with what might have been meant as encouragement, but sounded more like pity. The Hegemony Science Advisor projected new images showing energy shield demonstrations. Brilliant colored barriers deflected massive energy blasts without even flickering. Captain Chen, your people might find these instructional. Energy shields operate by dispersing incoming energy across their entire surface area. The more energy applied, the more efficiently they distribute it. Very educational, Chen said politely. The beauty of shield technology, the Valdris delegate added, is that it scales perfectly. A shield that can stop a small energy blast can stop a large one just as easily. It is simply a matter of power distribution. Chen nodded as if impressed, but inside she was thinking, the aliens were so proud of their shields that they had built their entire military philosophy around them. Energy weapons that could overwhelm shields were considered the ultimate threat. Everything else was dismissed as obsolete. As the meeting continued, Chen listened to detailed explanations of Council military technology. Plasma cannons that fired bolts of contained starfire, quantum disruptors that tore apart matter at the subatomic level, gravitational lances that could crush ships like tin cans. All of it was designed around the assumption that the enemy would have energy shields. Attack and defense had evolved together over millennia, each pushing the other to greater heights of sophistication. The presentation finally ended with Vexitar announcing the exercise schedule. Human forces will have 3 weeks to prepare for Exercise 17. I trust this will be sufficient time to organize your efforts. As the council members filed out of the hall, chattering about exotic energy frequencies and shield harmonics, Chen remained in her seat. She activated her personal communicator and sent a coded message to the Indomitable, which was orbiting Nexus Prime as part of the human diplomatic mission. Commander Torres, she said quietly, change of plans. We need to run some calculations. What kind of calculations, Captain? Came the reply. Chen looked up at the departing council members still laughing about human primitiveness. The kind that might surprise some people. 3 hours later, Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, studying readouts that would have meant nothing to council observers. Energy signatures, shield frequencies, power distribution patterns. The aliens had been so eager to show off their technology that they had revealed exactly how it worked. Interesting, Commander Torres said, looking over Chen's shoulder at the data. Their shields are definitely impressive against energy weapons. Yes, Chen agreed. But notice the fundamental assumption built into the design. Torres frowned, then understanding dawned on his face. They are designed to disperse energy, not absorb kinetic impact. Exactly, Chen said. Their shields work by spreading energy across their surface area. But kinetic energy doesn't spread. It concentrates at the point of impact. You think our railguns might actually be effective against their shields? Chen pulled up the physics calculations her team had been running. The numbers were startling. I think their shields might not even register our weapons as a threat. She looked out the bridge viewport at the gleaming spires of Nexus Prime. Somewhere down there, the council was probably still laughing about primitive human technology. They might not be laughing much longer. The asteroid mining facility Echo 7 drifted silently in the outer rim of the Kepler system. It was a small operation, barely worth the council's attention under normal circumstances. But today it would serve as the stage for Exercise 17. Captain Chen stood on the bridge of the Indomitable, watching the facility grow larger on the main screen. 3 weeks had passed since the humiliating presentation on Nexus Prime. 3 weeks that her crew had spent running calculations, testing theories, and preparing for what everyone expected to be a simple training exercise. Facility is requesting permission to begin evacuation protocols, reported Lieutenant Kim from the communication station. Standard procedure for military exercises. Granted, Chen replied, but tell them to make it look realistic. We want our opponents to believe this is just another routine drill. Commander Torres moved to stand beside Chen's command chair. Captain, the latest intelligence reports are troubling. The Ravager clans are providing the opposition force for this exercise. That is not what we were told to expect, Chen nodded grimly. The Ravager clans were a nomadic warrior culture known throughout Council space for their aggressive tactics and advanced military technology. They were hardly the simple pirates that Exercise 17 was supposed to simulate. How many ships? Chen asked. 12 confirmed vessels, Torres replied, consulting his tablet. 3 heavy cruisers, 6 destroyers, and 3 support ships. All equipped with standard Council technology. Energy shields, plasma weapons, the full package. Against our single destroyer, Chen mused. The Council certainly wants to make a point. The bridge crew worked quietly around them, making final preparations. Chen could feel the tension in the air. Everyone knew this was more than just an exercise. This was humanity's first real test in the galactic community. Captain, called Ensign Martinez from the sensor station, I'm detecting energy signatures approaching from the asteroid belt. Multiple contacts moving at high sublight speed. Put it on screen, Chen ordered. The main display shifted to show a tactical view of the surrounding space. Red dots appeared at the edge of sensor range, moving steadily toward Echo 7. The Ravager fleet was right on schedule. They are not even trying to hide their approach, Torres observed. Very confident. Why wouldn't they be? Chen replied. As far as they know, they are facing a primitive human ship with metal armor and chemical weapons. They probably think this will be over in minutes. The communication console chimed. Captain, Lieutenant Kim announced. We are receiving a transmission from the lead Ravager ship. Audio only. Put it through. A harsh, gravelly voice filled the bridge. Human vessel, this is War Leader Krex of the Ravager clan Bloodfang. You are ordered to withdraw immediately or face destruction. This is your only warning. Chen activated the reply channel. War Leader Krex, this is Captain Chen of the Earth Defense Force ship Indomitable. We are here to protect this facility as assigned by the Galactic Council. We will not withdraw. A sound that might have been laughter came through the speakers. Foolish mammals. Your primitive technology cannot stand against Ravager might. But if you insist on dying, we will accommodate you. The transmission cut off. Chen looked around her bridge at the faces of her crew. They were young, most of them, and this was their first action against alien opponents. But they were ready. Tactical assessment, Commander, Chen ordered. Torres called up a holographic display showing the approaching Ravager formation. Standard Council attack pattern. The heavy cruisers will engage us directly, while the destroyers move to flank. They will rely on their energy shields to protect them while their plasma weapons overwhelm our defenses. Energy output projections? Massive, Torres admitted. Each of their heavy cruisers can generate more firepower than our entire ship. If this were a conventional engagement with energy weapons, we would be destroyed in seconds. But this is not a conventional engagement, Chen said quietly. Weapons status? Primary railgun is charged and ready, reported Chief Weapons Officer Park. Tungsten penetrator rounds loaded. We have 15 shots before we need to reload. Secondary systems? Point defense railguns are online. Kinetic interceptors are ready for deployment. All systems nominal, Chen nodded. The Indomitable was not designed to look impressive. Its hull was angular and functional, built for efficiency rather than elegance. But every system had been tested and refined through decades of human warfare. They are accelerating, Ensign Martinez announced. Estimate contact in 20 minutes. Signal the facility, Chen ordered. Tell them evacuation is complete and they should power down all non-essential systems. I want Echo 7 to look abandoned. As her crew carried out orders, Chen reviewed the battle plan one more time. It was simple, which was often the best kind. The Ravagers would approach expecting to face energy weapons and energy shields. They would position their ships accordingly. With overlapping shield coverage and coordinated energy barrages, they would not be prepared for what was actually coming. Captain, Lieutenant Kim called out. The Ravager ships are hailing all Council frequencies. They are broadcasting their attack run for the exercise observers. Chen almost smiled. Of course they were. This was meant to be a demonstration of human inadequacy. Broadcast live to Council military officials across the galaxy. The Ravagers were performing for an audience. Let them broadcast, Chen said. I want everyone to see this. The main screen shifted to show the Ravager fleet in tight formation. Their ships were sleek and deadly, with curved hulls that seemed to flow like liquid metal. Energy discharges flickered along their weapon arrays as they charged their plasma cannons. Beautiful ships, Torres commented. Very advanced, yes, Chen agreed. But advancement can become a weakness if you become too dependent on it. Contact in 10 minutes, Martinez reported. They are maintaining formation. No evasive maneuvers. Why should they? Chen asked rhetorically. We are just throwing rocks. The bridge fell silent except for the hum of systems and the quiet beeping of sensors. Chen could feel her heart rate increasing, but her hands remained steady. This was what she had trained for her entire career. Captain, Park announced, primary railgun is locked onto the lead heavy cruiser, targeting their forward section, just ahead of what our scans indicate as their main shield generator. Excellent targeting, Chief, Chen replied. But remember, we are not trying to hit their shield generator. Park looked confused for a moment, then understanding dawned. We are trying to hit them through their shields, exactly. Their shields will not even register our projectile as a threat until it is too late. 5 minutes to contact, Martinez called out. The Ravagers are powering up their weapons. Energy signatures are climbing rapidly. Chen watched the tactical display as the enemy ships moved into attack formation. 3 heavy cruisers in the center, destroyers spreading out to create a wide killing field. It was textbook Council military doctrine. They are hailing us again, Kim reported. Put it through. War Leader Krex's voice filled the bridge once more. Last chance, humans. Surrender now and we will make your destruction quick. Negative, War Leader, Chen replied calmly. We are here to do a job. Then you will die doing it. All ships attack formation. Show these mammals what real weapons can do. The transmission ended. Chen could see energy building along the Ravager ship's weapon arrays. In moments, they would unleash enough firepower to vaporize a small moon. All stations report ready, Torres announced. Chen looked around her bridge one more time. These were good people, following her into what looked like certain death because they trusted her judgment. She would not let them down. Chief Park, she said quietly, you may fire when ready. Park's finger hovered over the firing control. Aye, Captain. Firing in 3, 2, 1. The Indomitable shuddered slightly as its primary railgun discharged. The weapon itself was invisible, just a tungsten rod accelerated to 15% of light speed, but the electromagnetic pulse of its firing lit up every sensor display on both sides of the battle. Chen watched the tactical display as a single white dot raced across the space between the fleets. The Ravager shields were already glowing, ready to disperse the energy weapons they expected to face. They were not ready for what actually hit them. The tungsten rod struck the lead Ravager cruiser exactly where Park had aimed it. The ship's energy shields did not even flicker. They were designed to deal with energy, not matter traveling at relativistic speeds. The rod punched through the cruiser's hull like it was made of paper. Internal explosions began almost immediately as the kinetic energy transferred into heat and shock waves. Secondary systems exploded in chain reactions that tore the ship apart from the inside. In less than 5 seconds, a heavy cruiser that had seemed invincible was breaking apart in brilliant flashes of released energy. The Ravager fleet stopped moving. Silence fell across the Ravager fleet like a physical weight. War Leader Krex stared at his tactical display in shock, watching the debris of the heavy cruiser Bloodfang spread across space in an expanding cloud of superheated metal and plasma. Report, Krex roared at his bridge crew. What happened to Bloodfang? The sensor operator, a young Ravager with shaking hands, looked up from his console. War Leader, the human ship fired some kind of projectile. It passed right through Bloodfang's shields without triggering them. Impossible, Krex snarled. Energy shields stop everything. Run diagnostics on Bloodfang's systems. I cannot, War Leader. Bloodfang is gone. The entire ship was destroyed by internal explosions. Krex turned to his weapons officer. What kind of energy beam can pass through shields without triggering them? It was not an energy beam, War Leader, the weapons officer replied nervously. Our sensors detected a solid projectile moving at 15% light speed. A solid projectile? Krex's voice rose dangerously. You mean they actually threw a piece of metal at us? Yes, War Leader. Krex stared at the tactical display where the human ship sat motionless, apparently waiting for the Ravagers to make their next move. The primitive vessel looked harmless compared to his remaining ships, but it had just destroyed one of the most advanced cruisers in the Ravager fleet. Physics analysis, Krex ordered. How much kinetic energy was in that projectile? The science officer worked quickly at his console, then paled. War Leader, the kinetic energy of a tungsten rod at 15% light speed is approximately 450 petajoules. That is equivalent to a 100-megaton nuclear weapon, concentrated at a single point of impact. The bridge fell silent again. Krex felt something he had not experienced in decades of warfare: fear. "Can our shields stop kinetic projectiles at those speeds?" he asked. "No, War Leader. Our shields are designed to disperse energy across their surface area. A kinetic impact concentrates all its energy at the point of contact. The shield would not even register it as a threat until after penetration." Krex looked at his remaining ships on the tactical display. 2 heavy cruisers, 6 destroyers, 3 support vessels, all of them just as vulnerable as Bloodfang had been. "Evasive maneuvers," he ordered. "Random patterns. Do not let them target us accurately." But even as he gave the order, Krex knew it was probably useless. At 15% light speed, the human projectiles would reach their targets in seconds. There would be no time to dodge once they were fired. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Chen watched the Ravager fleet begin frantic evasive maneuvers. Their perfect formation was breaking apart as ships scattered in all directions. "They are learning," Commander Torres observed. "Yes," Chen agreed. "But learning and adapting are 2 different things. Chief Park, target the 2nd heavy cruiser. Lead their movement and fire when ready." "Aye, Captain. Calculating intercept course now." The Ravager ships were moving fast, but their evasive patterns were predictable. Human naval tactics had been developed fighting other humans, who were naturally unpredictable opponents. Aliens who relied on superior technology rather than tactical innovation were easier to outthink. "Firing," Park announced. The 2nd railgun shot crossed space in a brilliant line of electromagnetic discharge. The targeted Ravager cruiser tried to change course at the last second, but it was far too late. The tungsten rod caught it amidships, punching through the hull and triggering the same cascade of internal explosions that had destroyed the first ship. 2 heavy cruisers gone in less than 3 minutes. "War Leader," the communications officer called out on Krex's bridge. "We are receiving emergency transmissions from throughout Council space. Military commanders are demanding immediate tactical analysis of the human weapons." Krex ignored him. His attention was focused on the tactical situation, which was rapidly becoming hopeless. The human ship had not moved from its original position, but it was picking off his fleet with methodical precision. "All ships, concentrate fire on the human vessel," Krex ordered. "Full power to plasma cannons. Overwhelm them with energy output." The remaining Ravager ships turned toward the Indomitable and opened fire. Brilliant beams of contained plasma lanced across space, carrying enough energy to boil oceans. The combined firepower of the Ravager fleet lit up the darkness like a miniature star. All of it struck the human ship's hull and simply absorbed into the metal plating. "Impossible," Krex whispered. "How can metal armor stop plasma beams?" His science officer was frantically working at his console. "War Leader, the human ship's armor is not just metal. It appears to be a complex layered system. Reactive materials that disperse energy, ablative coatings that boil away to carry heat with them, and thermal distribution networks that spread impact across the entire hull. But plasma cuts through anything, not if the target is designed specifically to absorb and disperse thermal energy, War Leader. The humans have built their armor to stop the exact weapons we are using." Krex realized with growing horror that the humans had not just developed weapons that could penetrate Council shields. They had also developed armor that could stop Council weapons. While the rest of the galaxy had focused on energy shields, humans had perfected energy absorption. "Third shot incoming," someone called out. This time, the tungsten rod struck one of the destroyers. The smaller ship simply disintegrated, its hull vaporizing under the massive kinetic impact. Pieces of debris peppered the nearby ships, causing additional damage. "We have to retreat," the weapons officer said. "We cannot fight this." "No," Krex snarled. "We are Ravagers. We do not retreat from mammals throwing rocks." But his bravado was hollow. In the space of 5 minutes, the human ship had destroyed 3 of his vessels and shrugged off the combined firepower of his remaining fleet. This was not a battle anymore. It was a slaughter. "War Leader," the communications officer called out again. "Admiral Vextar is demanding a direct report. The exercise is being broadcast live to military commands throughout the galaxy." The exercise. Krex had almost forgotten that this was supposed to be a simple demonstration of human inadequacy. Instead, it was becoming a demonstration of Council inadequacy. 4th shot incoming. Another destroyer vanished in a flash of kinetic energy. The human ship had not even moved. It sat in space like a patient predator, picking off targets with mechanical precision. Krex watched his tactical display as his fleet continued to disintegrate. The humans were not even trying to be impressive about it. They simply aimed, fired, and moved on to the next target. There was something terrifying about that calm efficiency. All remaining ships, Krex ordered with defeat heavy in his voice, prepare to withdraw from the exercise area. War leader, his weapons officer asked, "What do we tell Admiral Vextar?" Krex looked at the debris field that had once been half his fleet. "Tell him that humans do not throw rocks. They throw relativistic kill vehicles, and there is a very big difference." On Nexus Prime, Admiral Vexistar stood frozen before the tactical display in the Council's military command center. Around him, representatives from 12 species watched in stunned silence as the exercise reports continued to arrive. "Confirm those readings," Vextar ordered his staff. "Confirmed, Admiral," the sensor operator replied. 4 Ravager ships destroyed by kinetic impact. Human vessel undamaged after absorbing concentrated plasma fire equivalent to orbital bombardment levels. "How is this possible?" The Hegemony Science Advisor stepped forward, his crystalline form flickering with agitated light patterns. "Admiral, we have been analyzing the combat data. The human weapons are not primitive. They are specifically designed to counter our defensive technology." "Explain." "Energy shields work by dispersing incoming energy across their entire surface area, but kinetic energy cannot be dispersed. It must be absorbed at the point of impact. At relativistic speeds, that means explosive decompression and massive structural damage." Vextar felt a cold certainty settling in his chest. "You are saying our shields are useless against kinetic weapons?" "Not useless, but severely limited. A shield that can stop a gigawatt energy beam cannot stop a kilogram of tungsten at 15% light speed. And their armor? Designed to absorb and disperse thermal energy rather than deflect it. They have essentially built the perfect counter to plasma weapons." Vextar looked around the command center at the faces of his staff. He could see the same realization dawning on all of them. The Council's military superiority, built up over thousands of years, had just been shattered by a single human ship using weapons the Council had dismissed as obsolete. "Sir," the communications officer called out. "We are receiving priority transmissions from military commands throughout Council space. They are all asking the same question, which is, how many ships like the Indomitable do the humans have?" Vextar closed his eyes. That was indeed the question that mattered now. If humans had built an entire fleet of ships that could ignore Council defenses and shrug off Council weapons, then the balance of power in the galaxy had just shifted dramatically. "Get me a direct line to Captain Chen," he ordered. "Yes, Admiral." As his staff worked to establish the connection, Vextar wondered how he was going to explain to the Council that their newest member species had just made their military doctrine obsolete. News of the Echo 7 engagement spread across the galaxy faster than light itself. Quantum communication networks carried the impossible reports to every corner of Council space. A single human ship had destroyed half a Ravager fleet and emerged without damage. On the bridge of the Indomitable, Captain Chen watched her communications console light up with incoming messages. Priority transmissions from Earth, urgent requests from Council military commands, and what appeared to be several marriage proposals from Zarathi females, impressed by her tactical abilities. "Captain," Lieutenant Kim announced, "Admiral Vextar is requesting immediate direct communication. Priority 1 classification. Put him through," Chen replied, settling back in her command chair. The main screen flickered to show Admiral Vextar's blue face. The confident arrogance from their first meeting was gone, replaced by something Chen had never seen from a Council official before. Respect mixed with fear. "Captain Chen," Vexitar began carefully, "I must congratulate you on your unexpected performance in Exercise 17. "Thank you, Admiral," Chen replied neutrally. "We accomplished our mission objectives." "Indeed you did. Perhaps we could discuss the technical specifications of your weapon systems." Chen smiled slightly. "I would be happy to share information, Admiral, in the spirit of Council cooperation." What she did not say was that everything the Indomitable had just demonstrated was already public information. Human military specifications had been submitted to the Council during the membership application process. The problem was that no one had bothered to read them carefully. "Captain," Vextar continued, "I must ask directly, how many ships of the Indomitables class does Earth possess? Currently, the Earth Defense Force operates 47 ships of the Destroyer class or larger," Chen replied truthfully. "With an additional 33 under construction." Vextar's face went pale. "All equipped with kinetic weapons?" "Yes, Admiral. Railguns are standard armament for all EDF vessels. And all have armor capable of withstanding plasma bombardment?" "Standard defensive systems, yes." Chen watched Vextar struggle with the implications. 80 human warships that could ignore Council defenses and shrug off Council weapons. The balance of power had not just shifted, it had completely reversed. "Commander Torres," Chen called out, "please transmit our technical specifications to Admiral Vextar. Full disclosure." Torres nodded and began uploading data. Chen could see Vextar's staff working frantically as the information arrived. She imagined their shock as they realized how thoroughly they had misunderstood human technology. "Captain," Vextar said after several minutes of silence, "this data suggests your weapons are even more advanced than we witnessed today." "The Indomitable is actually one of our older ships," Chen admitted. "The newer classes fire tungsten rods at 25% light speed." Vextar's hands visibly shook. 25%? "Our latest experimental designs are pushing 30%, Chen added casually. "Though we are having some interesting engineering challenges with temporal distortion effects at those speeds." The transmission ended abruptly, as Vextar apparently needed time to process this information. Chen turned to her crew, who were trying hard not to smile. "Commander Torres, status report on our observers." 3 Council intelligence ships have been monitoring us since the engagement," Torres replied. "They are running detailed scans of our hull and weapon systems." "Let them scan," Chen said. "They are not going to learn anything useful from passive sensors." "Captain," Ensign Martinez called out from the communication station, "we are receiving a priority transmission from Earth Command. Admiral Harrison wants a full mission briefing. Tell Admiral Harrison that Exercise 17 was completed successfully and all mission objectives were achieved. Full report to follow." "Aye, Captain." Chen looked out the main viewport at the debris field that marked the remains of the Ravager ships. She felt no satisfaction from the destruction. Those had been living beings with families and hopes and dreams. But they had chosen to attack a facility under human protection, and Chen had responded with the tools she had been given. "Captain," Torres said quietly, "sensors are detecting multiple fleet movements throughout Council space. It appears that several species are repositioning their military assets." Chen was not surprised. Word of human capabilities would be spreading through military commands across the galaxy. Admirals and fleet commanders would be asking the same questions Vextar had asked. How many human ships were there? How fast were their weapons? How strong was their armor? What kind of movements, Commander? Defensive formations mostly. Several species are pulling their fleets back to their home systems. The Corvani Empire has gone to high alert status. They are scared, Chen realized. Yes, Captain. They are scared of us. Chen considered this development. Fear could be useful, but it could also be dangerous. Frightened opponents might do unpredictable things. Any hostile movements? Not yet, Torres replied. But the hegemony is sending a task force toward the border of human space. Their stated purpose is reconnaissance and evaluation. Chen nodded grimly. The hegemony was the most militarily advanced of the Council species. If anyone was going to test human capabilities directly, it would be them. How long until they reach our border? 4 days at their current speed. Signal Earth Command. Priority transmission. Inform them that we may have company soon. As her crew carried out orders, Chen reviewed what had just happened. The exercise at Echo 7 had been meant to demonstrate human inadequacy. Instead, it had revealed that humans possessed weapons technology capable of defeating any ship in the Council fleet. The political ramifications would be enormous. Species that had viewed humanity as primitive newcomers would now see them as a potential threat. Alliances would shift. Trade agreements would be renegotiated. The entire structure of galactic politics was about to change. Captain, Lieutenant Kim announced. Incoming transmission from the Zorathi Collective. It appears to be a formal diplomatic communication. Put it through. The screen showed Hive Speaker Zixra, the insectoid delegate who had been so dismissive during the council meeting. Her compound eyes reflected light and patterns that Chen had learned indicated nervousness. Captain Chen, Zixra began. The Zarathi Collective wishes to express our admiration for your tactical capabilities. We would be honored to discuss closer cooperation between our species. Chen almost smiled. 3 weeks ago, the Zarathi had laughed at human technology. Now they wanted to be allies. Hive Speaker, I appreciate your interest. I will forward your communication to our diplomatic corps. Thank you, Captain. Perhaps you could also provide technical specifications for your kinetic weapon systems. For purely academic purposes, of course. Of course, Chen replied. I will see what can be arranged. The transmission ended. Chen looked at Torres, who was openly grinning now. Academic purposes? Torres asked. They want to know if they can build railguns before someone uses railguns on them, Chen replied. Smart politics. Captain, Martinez called out. We are receiving similar diplomatic overtures from the Valdris Consortium, the Rhino Republic, and the Corvani Empire. They all want to discuss enhanced cooperation with humanity. Chen was not surprised. The demonstration at Echo 7 had done more for human diplomatic standing than years of formal negotiations could have accomplished. Nothing commanded respect like the ability to destroy anyone who threatened you. But Chen also understood that respect based on fear was fragile. If humans appeared too threatening, the Council species might decide that cooperation was less important than survival. A united Council could still overwhelm humanity through sheer numbers. Commander Torres, prepare a report for Earth Command. Recommend that we be very careful about how we handle the next few weeks. We have gained a tremendous advantage, but advantages can disappear quickly if not managed properly. Understood, Captain. Chen settled back in her command chair and looked out at the stars. Somewhere out there, the Hegemony Task Force was moving toward human space. Soon there would be another test of human capabilities. She hoped her species was ready for what was coming. Captain, Torres said quietly. Do you think they will attack us directly? Chen considered the question. The Council species had built their entire military philosophy around energy weapons and energy shields. They had never faced an enemy that used purely kinetic weapons. Their tactical doctrines, their ship designs, their strategic thinking, all of it was based on assumptions that humans had just proven wrong. They might, Chen replied. Fear makes people do stupid things, but they might also be smart enough to realize that attacking us would be a mistake. Because we would win. Because everyone would lose, Chen corrected. War between humans and the Council would devastate both sides. The smart move is to find a way to work together. Chen hoped the Council was smart enough to see that. But she also knew that fear and pride could overcome intelligence. The next few days would tell whether the galaxy was about to enter a new age of cooperation or a new age of war. 6 months after the Echo 7 engagement, the Great Hall of Nexus Prime looked very different. The floating chairs still hummed with anti-gravity technology, and the 3 purple suns still shone through the crystal walls. But the beings who sat in those chairs no longer looked at the human representative with condescension or amusement. Admiral Chen, her promotion had come, through last month, stood at the central podium where Admiral Vextar had once mocked human technology. Around her, representatives from 12 alien species listened with careful attention as she presented the quarterly military cooperation report, integration of kinetic weapon systems into Council defense platforms, has exceeded all projections, Chen announced, gesturing to the holographic displays surrounding her. The new hybrid designs combine human railgun technology with Council energy, shielding and propulsion systems. The display showed technical diagrams of ships that would have been impossible 6 months earlier. Sleek Council halls mounting massive human railguns. Elegant alien armor plating reinforced with human thermal dispersion networks. Energy shields modified to work alongside kinetic point defense systems. The first Joint Task Force conducted successful trials last week, Chen continued. 3 mixed human Council squadrons engaged a large pirate fleet in the Outer Rim. The pirates were eliminated with 0 friendly casualties. Hive Speaker Zixra leaned forward in her floating chair. Her compound eyes reflected patterns that Chen had learned indicated satisfaction. Admiral Chen, the Zarathi Collective has completed analysis of the new defensive protocols. Our shield generators can now detect and respond to kinetic threats while maintaining energy dispersal capabilities. Chen nodded approvingly. Excellent work, Hive Speaker. Your engineers have made remarkable progress. It was true. The Zarathi had been among the first to embrace the new paradigm. throwing their considerable technological resources into developing hybrid systems. Their latest shield generators could deflect energy weapons while also creating kinetic barriers to slow incoming projectiles. The hegemony science advisor, the crystalline being whose body refracted light into rainbow patterns, spoke next. "Admiral, our newest ship designs incorporate human armor principles with our quantum manipulation technology. The result is defensive systems that can absorb, deflect, or phase shift around incoming attacks." "I look forward to seeing the test results," Chen replied diplomatically. The truth was that she had already seen the test results. Human intelligence had been monitoring Council military development closely since the Echo 7 engagement. The new hybrid technologies were impressive, but they were still built on principles that humans understood better than their creators. Admiral Vextar, who now served as Director of Military Cooperation, activated his section of the display. "Admiral Chen, I am pleased to report that the joint training exercises have been extremely successful. Council officers are adapting well to kinetic warfare doctrine," Chen smiled, "and human officers are learning a great deal from Council energy manipulation techniques. The exchange program benefits everyone." This was also true, though Chen was careful not to mention how much human officers were learning. Council energy technology was elegant and sophisticated, but it was also predictable. Human engineers were already developing counters to every system they encountered. The Valdris representative, the being of pure energy contained in a mechanical suit, flickered with what Chen recognized as curiosity. "Admiral, there have been reports of new human weapon developments. Can you provide details?" Chen had been expecting this question. Human research had not stopped after Echo 7. If anything, it had accelerated. The latest railgun designs could fire projectiles at 40% light speed, and the newest experimental weapons were exploring even more exotic applications of kinetic energy. "The Earth Defense Force continues to refine our kinetic systems," Chen replied carefully. "We are always looking for ways to improve effectiveness and efficiency." "Effectiveness against what threats?" the Valdris representative pressed. Chen paused for effect, then smiled. "Against any threats that might emerge. We believe in being prepared," the message was clear. Human weapons development continued to advance, staying ahead of any potential countermeasures. The Council species could build hybrid systems and adaptive defenses, but they would always be playing catch-up to human innovation. The Corvani delegate, her serpentine form coiled around her floating chair, hissed softly, "Admiral Chen, the Corvani Empire wishes to discuss expanded technology sharing agreements. We have developed new plasma kinetic hybrid weapons that might interest your engineers." "I will forward your proposal to the appropriate departments," Chen replied, "though I should mention that human policy requires full reciprocal access to any shared technologies." The Corvani delegate's hiss became more pronounced. Full reciprocal access meant that humans would learn everything about Corvani weapons technology, while sharing only selected information about their own systems. It was not a fair trade, but it was the only trade on offer. Chen looked around the great hall at the faces and other sensory organs of the Council representatives. 6 months ago, these beings had viewed humanity as primitive newcomers to be patronized and controlled. Now they were partners, junior partners perhaps, but partners nonetheless. The transformation had not been easy. There had been tense moments when fear almost overcame pragmatism. The hegemony task force that had moved toward human space had been met by a single human squadron that demonstrated the ability to destroy entire fleets without taking damage. The confrontation had ended with negotiations rather than violence, but only barely. Other incidents had followed. Pirates using stolen Council technology had attacked human trade convoys and been annihilated. A few Council species had tested human resolve with limited military probes and learned that human patience had limits. Each time, the lesson was the same. Humans were not the primitive species the Council had expected. "Admiral Chen," Admiral Vexitar said formally, "the Council wishes to express its gratitude for human assistance in recent security operations. The pirate threat has been virtually eliminated from civilized space." Chen nodded graciously. "The galaxy is safer when we work together, Admiral." This was certainly true. The combination of human kinetic weapons with Council tracking and coordination systems had made piracy a suicidal profession. Pirates who had once hidden behind stolen energy shields found themselves facing tungsten rods that treated shields like tissue paper. Speaking of cooperation, Chen continued, I have received authorization to share some additional technical information with the Council. She activated a new holographic display showing cross-sections of the latest human ship designs. The representatives leaned forward with obvious interest. These are the specifications for our new Titan-class heavy cruisers, Chen announced, armed with primary railguns capable of firing projectiles at 45% light speed, with secondary systems that can engage multiple targets simultaneously. The hall fell silent. 45% light speed was approaching the theoretical limits of kinetic weapons technology. The energy required was enormous and the engineering challenges were staggering, yet humans had apparently solved both problems. How many of these ships do you plan to build? Asked the Rhino delegate, his massive gray form shifting nervously in his chair. The current production schedule calls for 24 Titan-class cruisers over the next 2 years, Chen replied. They will supplement our existing fleet, not replace it. More silence. 24 ships that could destroy anything in space, built by a species that had been considered primitive just months earlier. Of course, Chen added casually. These ships are designed primarily for exploration and defense. We have no aggressive intentions toward Council space. The reassurance was necessary, but Chen doubted it was entirely believed. Humans had demonstrated the ability to build weapons that made Council military technology obsolete. The only thing preventing human conquest of the galaxy was human choice. Admiral Chen, Hive Speaker Zixra said carefully, the Zarathi Collective would be honored to contribute to these new ship designs. Our expertise in energy distribution systems might complement your kinetic technology. We appreciate the offer, Chen replied. I will discuss it with our engineering teams. Similar offers came from other representatives. Everyone wanted to be involved in human military development, partly to contribute and partly to monitor what humans were actually building. Chen accepted them all graciously while making no firm commitments. As the meeting continued, Chen reflected on how much had changed. The council that had once dismissed human technology now desperately wanted access to it. Species that had laughed at kinetic weapons now built their entire defense strategies around them. The galaxy's balance of power had shifted completely. But the most important change was not military or political. It was philosophical. For thousands of years, the Council species had believed that technological advancement followed a predictable path. Energy weapons were superior to kinetic weapons. Energy shields were the ultimate defense. Bigger and more complex was always better. Humans had proven all of these assumptions wrong. Sometimes the simplest solution was the most effective. Sometimes old technology was better than new technology.